Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever England Golf podcast. My name's Iain Macfarlane, the press officer at England Golf, and I'll be your host as we take a tour around all that's happening within the amateur game in this country. In case you don't know, England Golf is the governing body for the amateur game, and we work in tandem with golfers, clubs and counties from Cumbria to Cornwall, promoting participation and enjoyment at all levels. We connect with a community of 640,000 golf club members through our 1,800 affiliated clubs and 35 counties to develop this great game. Now, those who don't get it often describe golf as a good walk spoiled. Well, we know better, don't you? It's the greatest game in the world. And fingers crossed this podcast doesn't turn out to be a good talk spoiled. It shouldn't, because we've got a terrific guest list for you to enjoy. Coming up on the podcast today, we hear from Jeremy Tomlinson, the CEO of England Golf, on his first year in the job, the trials and tribulations of lockdown, and the introduction of the World Handicap system, a subject that affects all 640,000 club golfers in England and has prompted almost as many opinions. What Gemma Hunter doesn't know about WHS simply isn't worth knowing. Gemma is England Golf's head of handicapping and course rating, and will be here to give us her insight on the first few weeks of WHS from a golfer's point of view. Also joining us today is Emily Toye, a key member of the England women's squad, who, along with Lily Mae Humphries, is off to the US Women's Open in Houston, Texas. This is one Toy story worth hearing. And we'll also find out what's happening around the amateur game in our news roundup. First up, it's great to have Jeremy Tomlinson with us on the podcast. For those of you who don't know, Jeremy is the Chief Exec at England Golf. Now, it's been a bit of a crazy year for us all. The world of golf is certainly no exception. And perhaps before we get into some of the detail, Jeremy, and look forward to what's going to happen in 2021 and also reflect on the World Handicap system launch, could you possibly try and sum up the year, your first year in post at England Golf?
Yeah, for sure, Ian. Have you got 2 or 3 hours, if that's okay? No, so I'll try to do it in a nutshell. Yeah, basically, obviously came into a new role, very excited with my new role, came in January. And to be honest, since then, it's been, I did have, to be fair, a couple of months of grace where came in and my learning curve was at an appropriate level. And then all of a sudden, of course, the pandemic hit. We had lockdown, so went into a complete new territory for everybody. But we've continued to work through that. I've got to know my team really well. So I've inherited a fantastic team at England Golf. Really pleased there. I've learned a lot about communicating with our clubs, with our members, with our county. We've tried to do that as best we really can with regards to interpreting guidance through the year. We've obviously reached out to government on many occasions, lobbying for and on behalf of members and their golf clubs, of course. And in the middle of all of that, we've tried to maintain our focus with regards to building our golf club and county accreditation for safe golf. And of course, the little matter of implementing the World Handicap system, which has really meant that it's kept us very busy, given me a few more grey hairs.
Absolutely. Now, I know that you've taken some ribbing from friends as being the man who's managed to shut down golf twice in a year. Are you still getting these kind of jibes when you go to your golf club down at Marlborough?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, where do you go with that? It's nobody guessed it was going to happen. Nobody wanted it to happen, but it has. The best thing, of course, about or the only good thing about going into a lockdown, and we've done it twice now, is coming out of it. And I'm so happy to say that there are tee sheets all over the country, absolutely chocker full of golfers wanting to get back on the golf course. So come tomorrow, that's a really good thing.
And the good thing is, of course, golf has proven itself to be COVID secure. People have played responsibly. They did after the first lockdown, and I'm sure they will continue to do so now that golf is back. Looking ahead, though, Jeremy, there's perhaps no guarantee that we won't be put into further lockdown conditions in the new year. We hope not, but you never can tell. Where do you think golf is placed should that situation arise again?
It's a really good question, and I really would love to be able to give a guarantee. I can't. But what I would say is that the incredible wave of support that we've garnered through the petition that we put through to to Parliament. I also, as people will be aware, I penned an open letter that received an incredible amount of support. So all in all, we have been able to reach out in the most constructive way, i.e. we've done it as constituents through our MPs. We've done it so that they really do understand that golf doesn't just affect, a few potential, as we've been described by some as bleating members, but very much more of a community of some circa 2 million people that really do enjoy golf for all of the incredible benefits, whether it be mental or physical, that golf does prevail on. So I would suggest that we look very, very good to not go back into a lockdown again. I would go as far as to suggest that I don't know what would shut golf courses. Golf clubhouses is a different matter, but I honestly do believe that golf courses will remain open now, which is great news.
Absolutely, that's good to hear, and fingers crossed that is the case. Through it all, through this crazy year, WHS, the World Handicap System, has been one of the key things on the England golf agenda. It's been on the go for a few years before you took office, but it's now in play. It came into play on the 2nd of November, and you're in a position that you can look at this wearing two hats. One as the Chief Executive of England Golf, and the other as an avid golfer yourself. Firstly, as Chief Executive, what's your take on the first month of the WHS from an England golf perspective?
Really good question, and one that I look back at. I look back with immense pride on the team with regards to the amount of work and the hours that have gone in to not only the lead up, of course, but the constant workload that has prevailed since launch. I do honestly believe a privilege to be doing this. I don't think the handicap system has been touched since circa 1910, 1911. And we have the opportunity to move it forward now. So apart from the fact, of course, it's such an immense project, the data transfers alone were in excess of 15 million for 640 thousand golfers, members of golf clubs. So we've had some teething problems, but we're getting there. And with the help and support of the golf clubs, who have done an incredible job, the volunteers who are the handicap advisors at golf clubs, handicap committee members at golf clubs, at counties, absolutely incredible job. Likewise, the general managers that are supporting them. So it's been an incredible sector workload and deliverance, to be honest. We're nearly there. We're still going to have the odd teething issue. We've got obviously live scores to come now with coming back out of lockdown. So I'm sure there'll be something there that we need to fix, but very, very confident that certainly by the new year, we're going to have a fantastic new handicap system in place at an incredibly higher level of integrity, with having purified so many inaccuracies from the previous system. So, yeah, I'm feeling really upbeat about it. Yep, I think the team have done a great job, and I think the whole golfing fraternity has really stepped up to the plate. So well done, and thank you to everybody involved.
You mentioned integrity there, and that's key to any handicapping system, Jeremy. So the fact that there is one central hub now controlled by England Golf, the governing body, should surely augur well for the future and, as we say, for the integrity of that system. Absolutely.
What happens when you have 1,800 calculation hubs, when every club had to prevail with regards to the calculation of handicaps and then report back to a central library, which of course is the CDH, you have a situation where nuances creep in, different processes, different ways of doing things. And what we've basically done now is we've eradicated that. So there is one calculation hub, there's one place of truth that we can truly rely upon. And I think that just has to bode really, really well for golf. Of course, all those on top of the other benefits that the new handicapping system prevails on, which I think everybody is going to really look to enjoy as we get into the season next year.
The good thing is, as I said, you're a keen golfer. I won't mention what your handicap is unless you want me to tell everybody. But I'm sure you've downloaded the app. You'll be keen to get back out on the golf course and put it into practice. And I suppose that's the key thing from WHS, isn't it? Just encouraging people to get out, play golf, record scores from social matches as well as competitive games.
Of course, and my golf is, as I get older, is definitely getting worse, so we won't go into to where my handicap is, but certainly what I am looking forward to is the opportunity, which I've never had, in my golfing life, of being able to nominate if I feel like I'm playing well, being able to nominate or just need to get some cards in, being able to nominate some extra cards, supplementary cards to be able to go out and play and hopefully maintain my handicap. If not, then go in the right direction with my age. But either way, I think it's exciting, and I'm absolutely convinced that it's going to drive an avidness, a greater desire with golfers to get out there and play more golf. So yeah, really excited by it.
The one thing they say about WHS, isn't it, that it's an accurate reflection of a player's current ability. So you and I no longer have any excuses, do we? This is going to tell the full story.
It is. And sometimes it's going to be pretty ugly, but that's okay. I do believe it's going to be fair. So there we go.
Good stuff. Jeremy, great to have you on the England Golf Podcast. Thanks very much for your time, and no doubt we'll speak again in the future.
A pleasure, Ian. Thank you very much. Take care.
Great to have Gemma Hunter with us now. Gemma is the head of handicapping and course rating at England Golf and has been a very busy bee for the last few months. Something to do with the World Handicap system, Gemma?
Yeah, just a small thing that's happened in golf in the last sort of like 30 days. It's been a pretty hectic time, but it's something that's been coming for about the last 4 years. So we've been prepared for it.
Now, you say it's a small thing. That's pulling it down slightly. This is the biggest change to the handicapping system since it was probably introduced in 1911. So it's been a huge undertaking. But just for people who are maybe coming to this new, have maybe been living on the moon for the last 6 months, can you just explain the background to WHS and why it was brought into play in England?
Yeah, sure. So WHS has been something that has been being developed since 2015. It actually started a little bit before that in terms of conversations that were being had with the USGA and RNA and about the idea of bringing together handicapping to one system for the world to try and bring together all the different handicapping bodies, and there were 6 big ones really around the world, to bring them together to have one system. So probably in the last 2.5 years, we've been working very closely as England Golf with Congu and with the USGA and RNA to obviously finish the development of the system and to understand how it was going to impact our golfers, and then to go on and start the implementation work through education of golf clubs and golf club committees, through to developing a new technology platform, new platform for golfers, and a brand new England Golf app.
Just so people understand the background to this, I mean, there's been a huge data transfer, hasn't there? I mean, people maybe don't comprehend the scale of this, but something like 15 million different pieces of data transferred.
Yeah, so 15 million scores just from golfers in England dating back to the 1st of January 2018 have been transferred from the old Congu CDH platform that we used to use into the new WHS, which has allowed us to recreate and transition everybody's previous scoring history into their new handicap index. So it's really helped us because we're not starting afresh. We're not starting the system from day one where every single golfer hasn't got any scores and a handicap. We're actually taking scores that you as a golfer have played previously and just converting them into the new world that is WHS.
It's a big change, and golfers traditionally don't like change. And it's also was introduced at a point where golf was locked down in England, which also further complicated it. People who were keen to get out in the course and test it out couldn't do so. So if golfers are now coming back to this with golf courses reopening, what would you advise them to do in the first instance to get a handle on the WHS system?
I think the first point is to understand where your handicap sits now and where you're up to now, and the best way to do that is to register with My England Golf. So you can do that either directly on the England Golf website into our desktop version of the website portal, or you can download the England Golf app and register on there. And then you can first of all see where your handicap is at the moment, because I'm pretty sure once you've seen your handicap index and what it's transitioned to from what it was prior to the 2nd of November, you'll then have a raft of questions that you want to know why it's changed or how it's changed. And I think to start your understanding, you need to know how it's changed, so have a look at that yourself. The other point is to get on the England Golf website. We've got loads of resources on there. We've got a player's guide to a really simple explanation as to what the World Handicap system is. We've got a lot of sort of like stage by stage help guides, help sheets, and a whole website for golfers just to try and explain some of the key terminology and the principles of WHS.
Now, it's slightly different to the previous system in that it's an averaging system, isn't it? The handicap index that a golfer is assigned comes from the scores that they have already carded and submitted to the system. So can you just explain a little bit about the handicap index itself, Gemma?
Yeah, so the way that the handicap index is calculated is it's actually using your scores. So when I was saying we've transferred 15 million scores into the system, we've used those scores, so scores you've actually submitted as a golfer, and we've converted those Kongu scores into what we're calling score differentials, which gives us basically the score that you played on a particular course on a particular day. And your handicap index is the best 8 out of your last 20 score differentials. So take your best 8 rounds of golf, not necessarily gross score, but score differential best rounds of golf. Take the average of those best 8, and that'll give you your handicap index. And that's where we start from now. That's where we aim to get everybody to, every golfer having 20 scores, at least 20 scores in their record, so that their handicap is developed and the system can kick in. We know not everybody will have 20 scores, some might have less, and we can handle that within the system. But yeah, it's an averaging system rather than incremental. So the big plus for that is if you have that really, really bad round of golf that you used to worry about going up 0.1, you don't need to worry about that anymore. It's gone. That one bad round will disappear and it won't even feature as part of the best 8 calculation.
And sometimes golfers get a little bit spooked when people like yourself who are incredibly knowledgeable about the system talk about it. Golfers don't need to make this calculation themselves. The computer does it. They just need to gain access to their handicap index and take it from there onto the course. So can you explain a little bit about how you then translate that handicap index into what a golfer will actually receive in terms of strokes back from the course that they choose to play on any given day?
Yeah, so actually you'll get a handicap index, and I said through the app or the platform you'll be able to see what that handicap index is. And then whenever you go and play a golf course, whether that's your home course, and that could be the tees that you usually play off on a Saturday, so it could be the white tees or it could be a different colour, it could be the yellow tees. It doesn't matter what the colour of the tee box is. Every time you play, you go and have a look at what the course rating and the slope rating is for that particular golf course. And the majority of golf clubs, you'll see a board or a signage that says this is what the course and the slope rating is for our white tees. There'll be a list of handicap indexes, and you will basically find your index, look across, and it'll give you the number of strokes that you'll be entitled to when you play that particular set of tees at that particular course. Now, like I said, it changes at home depending on the tee colour, but it will always change as well when you go away. So your index is your starting point. You then calculate a course handicap, and like I said, that's the number of shots that you need as a golfer to be able to play a particular golf course. And then you go out and play golf, and that's really the crux of it. That's all you really need to worry about. There is another element to it, which is when you're playing in competitions, and there's a stroke allowance for competition play. But this should be worked out by your software at the golf club. You just go out and put your gross score in, let the computer work out the number of strokes that you get for the competition. We would prefer that you play from your course handicap so that you don't pick up too soon on somewhere where you would normally get a shot or miss that shot out for handicap purposes. So yeah, just know your handicap index, figure out your course handicap, and go out and enjoy yourself.
And one of the big differences from the old system, as I understand it, Gemma, is that you can now submit social scores.
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea that in some respects it's the same in terms of you can submit a supplementary score. You can now submit a general play score. The biggest difference is that these can be played anywhere. They no longer have to be played at a club that you're a member of. So we go on a little day out and we decide to go and play at Royal Norwich as an example. We can choose to go and put a score in at Royal Norwich if that's what we want to do, and we would do that by pre-registering that score at the golf club itself, and then when we come in from playing, we put our score back in and the score's transferred to the system. The same if you're at home, you're playing at your home club and you want to put the score in, you put it in, you pre-register at the venue at your home club, and then you return the score there. So that's the key point, is that you need to pre-register and submit the card at the venue where you're playing. But yeah, anybody can put a score in at any time. It's totally up to you. As long as you're playing a measured golf course and you play by the rules of golf, every card that you play could go in if that's what you wanted to do.
Now, the system's been up and running for a few weeks now. Obviously, golf courses were closed for a good section of that. But as people are now getting back into the swing of things, perhaps they look at their record and see missing scores that they felt that they had submitted 6 months ago or a year ago aren't on their record. That can possibly be explained by transfer of data, but what should they do if they find themselves in that circumstance?
Yeah, but first of all, we've moved over everything that we received into the central database. We've moved over into the WHS platform. But we have spotted, and there has been people that have come to us and said, I played around 3 months ago and it's not in my record. Why is that? And it could just be that it's not been transferred through to the old system. So therefore, we've not been able to put it into the new one. But it's not a problem. If you speak to your golf club, and as long as your golf club have got a record of that score, which if you know about it and it's and you've got that information, they can add it into the system for you. They'll be able to just go into the England Golf platform as a golf club and add in that historic score and fill in that gap for you. So there is a way of getting those missing scores, should any be identified, into the system.
As you well know, Gemma, a golf handicap can be a badge of honour for some people as well. They're very proud of playing off single figures or scratch or whatever. If a golfer suddenly discovers that their handicap has a great change from what it was under the Congu system to WHS, can you explain why that might have happened and how this should even itself out the more rounds of golf a golfer contributes to his or her record?
Yeah, so basically the system is built on best 8 from 20, so it needs to be perfectly accurate. And to be 110% right, it needs to have at least 20 scores in the record to be able to calculate it. But we've said that might not be the case for all players. They may have less scores. So the first thing is, if you look at it and you've seen quite a dramatic change in your handicap from where you were before, the first thing I would do is work out what your course handicap would be for your home club, and then look at what the difference is between that. Because if your course handicap comes out the same as your previous Congu handicap, it's not a million miles away. Don't worry about it. Just keep putting scores in, and over time you'll see it balance itself out. We do tend to find that lower handicap players have come down. So if you are a category 1, if you were previously a category 1 golfer, you've probably found that you've come down a little bit. Some players, it's a significant number that they've dropped by, maybe 1 or 2 strokes. In other cases, it might just be 0.1, 0.2, but you will see a change. And the same, the higher handicap golfers, they're going to see a significant potentially increase. And this is because good golfers tend to have 1 or 2 or 3 good rounds and then a lot of consistent rounds. So their average of their best 8 is going to bring them down. Whereas a higher handicap player are probably not going to have that many good rounds. They might have 1 good round out of 10 or 20 rounds. So they probably find that their average takes them up a little bit. But overall, most players, probably about 90% of golfers, are within 2 shots of their previous Congu handicap. So I would always start off with, have a look at what your course handicap calculates as at your home club. If that's realistic and it's pretty close to what your Congu handicap was, you're handicapped correctly, you're right there, you don't need to worry. If it's not and you're unsure, first of all, speak to your club handicap committee. They've been provided with like a flow chart and a checklist to enable them to help work out whether or not the transitions worked correctly for you as a player. And they'll be looking at sort of like standouts within the golf club at the moment. But if you've got any real concerns, direct them to your club handicap committee and let them have a look at it first. And obviously our county handicap advisors are also on hand to support your golf club should there be any other questions.
And what are you going to do once everything's running smoothly, Gemma? This has taken over your life for how many years now? It's
been about 4 years. It's been on my radar, probably on my radar for about 6 or 7. But a big holiday, nice long holiday somewhere warm, potentially if we're allowed to leave the country. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. But there's a lot more developments. The system's going to keep moving and developing. I think with any new system, we're going to have the next probably 3 or 4 months is going to be one of those where it beds in and everybody gets used to it and people have questions. And then people will start playing golf and we'll start dealing with all the intricacies of the system like we had with the Kongu system.
Good stuff. Gemma, that's great. Thanks for speaking to us today. A lot of interesting topics covered and I hope the listeners have managed to glean some information from that. Of course, you can always check and get all the latest educational programmes on the England Golf website, www.englandgolf.org. There's a whole raft of resources there to do with WHS. You can also log into the My England Golf platform and you can download the My England Golf app as well from Google and Play stores. Now let's take a quick roundup of all the things that are happening in and around England Golf in 60 seconds. Andrew Nicholson has been named the England Golf Coach of the Year for 2020. Also receiving awards during the online performance conference were Volunteer of the Year Sheila Davidge and Jim Newton, who was commended for excellence in coaching. The South West region won Development Squad of the Year for both boys and girls. England Golf will team up with Ping to run a new event for the 2021 season, the Ping Mixed Better Ball. Clubs all across England can stage qualifiers, with the top 50 pairs making the national finals at Thornock Park next September. Congratulations to sisters Jalise and Zaira van der Merwe from Telford Golf Club, who were named England Golf's first Volunteers of the Month. And Rainbow Laces Day will once again be staged on Wednesday 9th of December, with England Golf in full support of the campaign. This year, the day helps to celebrate the impact sport has on LGBT people and the impact that LGBT people have on sport. At times this year it's been exciting just to leave the house to go for a pint of milk. Emily Toye, though, is about to get on an aeroplane, fly to the US of A and play in the final golf major of the year, the 2020 US Women's Open. How cool does that sound? Now, Emily qualified for the event back in June 2019, an added bonus for being crowned Women's Amateur Champion. And while she's had to wait patiently, the event tees off on December 10 at the Champions Club in Houston, Texas. Welcome to the podcast, Emily. Sounds exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. With like the year we've had as well, you know, it's just been something to look forward to and keep motivated for whilst we've been kind of in lockdown and stuff. But yeah, can't wait to get out there. It's only about a week now, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Now, the thing about this is Royal County Down must seem like a lifetime ago when you were crowned Women's Amateur Champion.
It literally does. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a long time ago now, but you know, I've said it before, actually. It's been quite nice because obviously I got 3 exemptions for 3 majors and then Augusta Women's Amateur. And I haven't played, obviously, the US Women's Am or Augusta. So, you know, it's been nice to spread out the kind of exemptions. And like I said, it's given me something to look forward to and keep focused on.
Now, as I said there, I mean, just a simple trip to the shops to go for a pint of milk or a loaf of bread is exciting, but you know, you're going to America, all the hoopla that surrounds that. Just talk us a little bit through the logistics. Has it been difficult planning for this? Do you have to be tested before you go, different visas, etc.? Has it been a difficult thing to arrange?
Yeah, it's been really tricky with everything that keeps changing in the world. You know, it's it's changing weekly and monthly, so it's been pretty difficult to kind of arrange. But yeah, so in terms of testing, I have to get a test before I leave here. 7 days to 48 hours before leaving. And then we kind of go into a bubble system. So a lot of people will kind of have seen that on the PGA Tour, LPGA, LET, kind of been going into a bubble. Where we get tested again, so everyone that's in the bubble is tested and obviously come back negative. And then, we stay in that bubble, so hotel, golf course, hotel.
It's exciting though, just looking at the format, 156 competitors, 24 of which are amateurs, obviously yourself and Lily May Humphries representing England. There's 9 former champions taking part, and there's some real legends of the game. I mean, Annika Sorenstam will be there, Christy Kerr, Michelle Wee, Paula Creamer. That must be an exciting prospect for you to go to an event like this, be beside them on the range and compete against them.
Yeah, it's actually my first trip to America, which is like kind of unbelievable.
Really?
I know, it's bad. Like in general, first trip to America, and obviously haven't played golf over there. So it's going to be a whole new challenge with all kind of grasses and grains, etc. But yeah, to be teeing it up alongside, the greats of the game. It's going to be incredible, and I feel like they've done really well in getting the amateurs there, because like you say, there's a good pool of amateurs that are involved, and they wanted to keep the field as large as they could, which is why they've put it over 2 different courses out there.
Yeah.
So it's been great, and I can't wait to get out there and play.
Now the only thing about this is, like all other golf events, there's no fans for it, so. In some ways, are you disappointed with that, or is that actually going to work to your advantage, that you're not going to have hundreds, thousands of people watching you?
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't think, as amateurs, we don't play with massive crowds anyway, so that's kind of going to feel more normal. However, been out in America anyway, my fear is that if I don't know the people in the crowd, I don't care, I'm not bothered. It's when I see people I know that's worse for me. But yeah, if I don't know them, I'm all good. But yeah, I think it's going to be different, because you think major and all the things that are about a major championship, which include the crowds, and a lot of the professionals have been saying how different it is. But obviously coming from the amateur world and not having the fans, I think it will probably suit me a little bit better.
Now, you wouldn't be human if you didn't have any nerves, just even walking onto the range or trying to arrange practice matches. But are you the kind of person that can just kind of put on the swagger and kind of just make yourself look super cool and feel as if you've been there all your life, or are you going to be a little bit jittery walking onto that practice range for the first time?
Yeah, I think you should be nervous, to be fair. I think it's, you've worked hard to get there, there's a lot of effort and a lot of practice that have gone into, obviously, me winning at Royal County Down and then going forward to play in this event. So, it's going to be nerve-wracking, when you've got, the likes of Lexi Thompson and, Charlie Hull, Georgia Hall, all those lot, the big names that, in the game, and, you're walking onto the range with them. It's exciting, but for sure I'm going to be nervous.
But you have played in professional events before. You played in the Rose Series this summer that Justin and his wife set up just after the first lockdown for professionals, for lady professionals, women professionals to get back into the swing of it. And you did well down at St George's, so that augurs well for this.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, all the preparation that you got, obviously I played in a couple of majors already, so, all of that is going to help when I get there. I'm hoping to feel more comfortable than I did with the 2 events that I played last year. So, and the Rose Series, that was a great event and, a great initiative from Justin and Kate. And, that gave me something. It was my first event coming back off lockdown, actually, and it was... it was obviously really well run, and again gets you playing with top level players that are playing in these majors year in, year out. So yeah, that's going to help me feel a lot more comfortable going to that event.
Did you feel comfortable playing that Rose Series? You mentioned you'd obviously played a couple of majors before that, but generally, do you feel quite at ease in that company? Do you think that's maybe not where you belong just now? That might be a bit arrogant, but is it a place that you're comfortable being in, an environment that suits you?
I felt a lot better going to the Rose Series than I would have if I hadn't have played British Open and Evian, 6 months before. I felt like going in, I'd come out and played lockdown, came out of lockdown. I felt like, I'd done as good as I could have in lockdown in working on my swing. And yeah, no, I did. I did feel a lot more comfortable. But yeah, like you say, I wouldn't say I'm there yet and I don't feel like 100% belong, but going along the right steps, that's for sure.
But talk us through 2020 and just how disrupted the year has been in terms of golf, because we've obviously had 2 lockdowns where golf hasn't been able to be played, but just the general disruption to the rhythm, the lack of championships. There was maybe only 4 or 5 championships you could play in this year compared to the normal roster. So just how odd has it been 2020 for you?
I was quite fortunate, to be fair, because I obviously went to Australia in January. England obviously sent I think there was 6 of us that went out. And so I played 4 events out there early days. And then came back and I played the Spanish Am. And then the majority of our UK season was disrupted. We missed out on a lot of events during our main UK season. And then coming back out of lockdown, we played a couple of England events. We have one that's usually in August anyway, and then one got pushed back. So that was good. And then, like I say, Justin Rose Series and the British, I call it the British Am, but the Women's Amateur. So those are the only kind of events I played in. But, obviously Australia and Tenerife definitely helped to, that I got off to a good start in the year and was able to go and play that golf. And then, only the 4 events. I think I played 4 events post-lockdown.
Yeah. And your form this year has been quite good coming out of lockdown. I mean, you gave it a good run again at the women's at West Lancs, got to the semis, qualified from the stroke play at the English Women's Am. I think you got the round of last 16, wasn't it? You lost to Emily Price.
Yeah.
It would all span that.
Yeah, it would all.
But I mean, by and large, your results have been quite promising.
They've been probably a little bit hit and miss. There's been some really good ones, and then there's been some unexpected maybe. But overall, I think, coming out of lockdown and it being as disruptive as it was, I was pretty pleased with, the results that I had. And actually, I didn't do too bad in Australia or Tenerife. I think made last 32. So, it's been, may hit a little bit hit and miss, but that's what the year's kind of brought. It's been a little bit disruptive, and unfortunately, that's what happens with consistency.
You've been far too modest about doing well in Australia, because you won the stroke play at the Australian Amateur, didn't you? Just before Charlotte Heath went on to win the match play and take the title. So it was a good start to the year for the English golfers. Yeah,
it was good. The trip to Australia, I've lucky to have gone the last couple of years, and it's great that we get to go out and play 4 events out there. And, at home here, the courses are barely open. And to get 4 events under your belt so early in the season really does give you that momentum and confidence moving forwards.
And obviously, just looking ahead to 2021, if I can get my years right, Curtis Cup coming up. What are your plans for the new year? Are you looking to turn professional, perhaps 2021 into 2022, or how do you see it panning out?
That would be the ideal kind of plan. So I've obviously got Augusta Women's Am, which I have to stay amateur for, and then Curtis Cup. They're my 2 kind of main things that I want to kind of achieve out of next year, and then kind of look to turn pro and go to Q School in 2022, and kind of go from there. Really, I'm quite open to seeing how it goes and going with the flow with it.
Good stuff. Emily, great joining us on the podcast. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
And on behalf of everyone at England Golf, can we just say the best of luck to you and Lily May for the US Women's Open, which is taking place between December 10 and 13 at the Champions Club in Houston. So thanks to Emily for taking part in the first England Golf podcast, and to our other guests, Jeremy Tomlinson and Gemma Hunter. Remember, you can follow us here at England Golf on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as logging onto our website www.englandgolf.org. Thanks again for your company. Hope you enjoyed the chat and that you can join us next time on the England Golf podcast.